All right, so hi Nicole. We're really happy to have the opportunity to interview you today and get kind of like talk about therapy and a little bit of mental health as well. So to start off, what do you know about our Address Teen Stress project?
hmm Yes, so I heard about you all a couple weeks ago. I think you all had DM'd me on Instagram, and so I was able to go through your website and see that you all are raising awareness about mental health for teens and providing a lot of really good resources on your blog and just website in general, resources that people can use, whether they're a teenager, a family member, or a person who works in the school. And so I was able to look at some of the interviews you all have done, and just helping people just be more vulnerable and encouraging those conversations about mental health. So I love what you all are doing.
Yeah, so Address Teen Stress is a mental health initiative started by five high school teenagers. So there's us two and then three more. Vedika, which you met previously, Audrey, and also Hannah. So our goal is to spread awareness on the topic of teen stress, which is something that doesn't really get talked about a whole lot. So we do interviews with professionals like you who kind of have a background or have some more information and insight about mental health through a series called Beyond the Brain. And we have other series such as Teen Stories Told, where we talk to teens and kind of share their stories as well. So I'm Abba Shrestha, as we met before, co-founder of Adjusting Stress.
I'm Alicia Chemo.
And yeah, so do you have any questions for us before we start the interview?
No, I don't think so. I'm excited.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
hmm So I'm Nicole Osborne. I am a holistic mental health therapist. I am located here in Honolulu, Hawaii. I currently see North Carolina clients, and I'm in the process of getting licensed with Hawaii. But I see teens, young adults battling with anxiety, depression, trauma, self-esteem issues, identity development issues. And so that is a little bit about what I do.
All right, awesome. So, as the co-owner slash creator of Milk and Honey Therapy, Milk and Honey Coaching, Milk and Honey Merch, how do you think that platform as a whole has created a difference?
Yeah, so me and my husband were both therapists. So he is a licensed clinical social worker. So we created our business together. And the main reason why we created our business was during the pandemic. A lot of people were struggling with their mental health, and I had just graduated grad school. And so we wanted to create a business that would reflect just our interests and reflect the issues that we're passionate about. And so back in summer of 2020, when a lot of the murders, racial murders were going on and racial injustice issues, we really felt a need to be able to support the BIPOC community. And so through our business, we work with people from all backgrounds and beliefs and identities. And so I think with all the platforms and businesses that we've had, we've been able to raise awareness about mind, body, spirit wellness, so holistic wellness, which is something that's becoming a little bit more trendy now. But we wanted to really make sure that people are tending to their mind, their body, and their spirit because that impacts your whole well being. And so through our businesses, we like to give actual like practical tips on what you can do to help your mental health. We've created products, so different therapy tools that you can use whether you're at school or home, at work. We wanted to make mental health just more relatable, fun, down to earth, approachable, and creative. And so, most importantly, we wanted to help destigmatize mental health. So, a lot of people don't know where to start when it comes to navigating their mental health or seeking out a therapist. And so we wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to have those conversations and to find a starting place as to how they can heal. So I think we've done a pretty good job so far, but we're excited to continue expanding and growing and increasing our impact.
And where did the name Milk and Honey come from?
Yeah, so me and my husband are both spiritual people, and so it's a verse from the Bible that talks about just the land of milk and honey, which basically, even if you're not a spiritual person, it represents the land of just freedom and healing and liberation. And so we wanted to be able to provide that for all of our clients who come to see us.
Wow, that's amazing. So we wanted to know your opinion on the statement, mental health is just as important as physical health. Do you agree with it? Why or why not?
Absolutely. I definitely do agree. As somebody who is a holistic therapist and a somatic therapist, so a therapist that focuses on the body, mental health is definitely just as important as physical health. So if your mental is off, that's going to impact your physical. If your physical is off, that's going to impact your mental. And so I definitely agree with that statement. And so if you're not able to take care of yourself physically, that's going to impact yourself mentally, spiritually, emotionally. and vice versa.
So, what do you think is a misconception that you hear a lot regarding therapy, therapists, or just regarding mental health in general?
I think a lot of people think it's just talking and getting advice and being told what to do. When in actuality, yes, there's talking, but there's also some therapy modalities where you don't do a lot of talking. And so as far as the misconceptions, I think people think you just go in, the therapist is like, okay, tell me about your feelings. All right, what are you going to do about it? Here's what you should do about it. I often don't use the word should at all in therapy, and I try to get my clients not to use the word should. And I won't get into all of that. But basically, I think people think it's just advice giving. I think people also think it's has to be confined to a office space. And so for me and my husband, we see clients outside. So we see clients at the park. My husband does play therapy, so he plays with kids outside, and so that's also therapeutic. People don't understand that it can come in many shapes and forms, and a lot of therapists are trying to be more creative in how they approach their clients. And so I think a lot of times people just think you sit on the couch, talk about feelings, get advice, and that's it, and that the therapist doesn't talk or say anything. I tell my clients during the phone consultation, like, I'm not your TV therapist who just sits there and is like, yeah, okay. I'm going to bring my personality. I'm going to be a human being. I want my clients to know that they're talking to a human being who just happened to go to school for a very long time to get the degree that I got.
And I know that like therapy is really broad spectrum. There's multiple different kinds of therapists within therapy. So there's like mental health therapists, RTT, teen therapists. So what is like the difference between all of them? And how did you get into mental health therapy specifically? Was it because of the pandemic or was there a different reason behind that?
hmm So, the biggest reason I became a mental health therapist is actually when I was in high school. So, when I was a teenager, there's a lot of people that I knew who were struggling with their mental health, family members, friends. And then there's also some people that I knew who were contemplating suicide. And so, for me, when I heard about that, that really rocked my world. And so, I was like, I just want to be able to help people. I want people to know that their life matters, that they have a purpose, that they're not alone. And so, for me, I was going to originally be a teacher, and so I was going to help in that way, and that was the way that I was going to give back is through helping students, being a support for students. But then that transformed into me becoming a therapist instead because I wanted to actually not to say that teachers don't help heal, but I wanted to have more intentional healing and provide that safe space for clients.
Yeah, so kind of building on that, what led you to pursue your current career?
Mhm. So yeah, a little bit about what I had already said was in high school. That was kind of the big turning point for me. And then to expand on that story, because I thought I was going to be a teacher, I studied psychology in undergrad. And then after that, I was going to actually do Teach for America, which was helping students in low income schools and marginalized communities. And then I decided that's not really what I wanted to do. But funny enough, the job that I got after that or got instead, I actually was in the classroom. So I was in a special education classroom. And in that classroom, I would go to my students' classes with them. And so one of the classes I happened to go with them was their school counseling class. And so once I was sitting in that class with them, I heard the teacher talking or the counselor talking, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I want to do. I just want to talk about feelings. I want to talk about stress, anxiety, and all that good stuff. And so from then on, I was like, all right, I'm going to go to school. And I went to school for school counseling, but I actually have 2 degrees. So I can be a school counselor if I went to go take the school counseling test. And I'm also a clinical counselor. And so that's what led to my career.
So when you're with in your therapy sessions with your clients, what do you think is the number one issue that you see among your clients overall?
hmm I would say the number one issue is trauma. I'm under the belief that trauma is the root of all mental illness and all, not, yeah, yeah, I'm pretty strong in that statement that it's the root of most, if not all, mental health issues, along with systematic oppression, capitalism, and all those other things that contribute to why people are the way that they are. But with that, under trauma falls anxiety and depression. So a lot of times people come to me and say, like, I'm feeling anxious or I'm having low motivation or I'm having racing thoughts. And once we get to the root of all of it, it's usually trauma.
And through your like journey of being a wellness coach, a therapist, what do you think is your number one thing that you learned that really helped you throughout that journey?
Hmm. The number one thing that I learned, like while being a therapist and wellness coach. Okay. The number one thing that I learned for not only through my clients, but not also myself is grace and self-compassion. That has been a game changer for myself personally and with my clients. The way we talk to ourselves, the way we treat ourselves is so, so important. And so if we don't treat ourselves right, we're going to allow other people to treat us not in the ways that we need to be treated. So I would say grace and self-compassion have been game changers for
How do you think your coping mechanisms have changed from when you were a teenage girl to now?
me. When I read that question when you all sent it, it made me laugh because I was like, mental health was not talked about when I was a teenager. Like I went to therapy, I think a couple sessions when I was younger, but I really had no awareness of like mental health, therapy, my body, all that stuff. And so when you all mentioned coping skills, I'm like, I don't know, I was hanging out with my friends, like that's a coping skill. I did a lot of dance, I did a lot of sports. So I think those were coping skills for me. I didn't realize it, I didn't realize that's what I needed. But I think that went a really long way for me, especially in high school when I was going through a lot of transition and change with my family. And so I would say those are my coping skills. Now, that I'm more aware of it, I would say like body awareness. So me like sitting with my feelings and emotions and not dismissing them and actually acknowledging them and validating them. That's a coping skill for me. I still do things like exercise and movement. I spend more time outdoors. I do meditation and prayer and other movement practices. And so I would say those are the ways that it's changed.
And like how you said that you didn't really know much about mental health when you were a teenager, what do you think that schools can do or the community can do to kind of bring more awareness of mental health among teenagers?
Mhm. I think in all honesty, there needs to be a whole system transformation. But if we're talking like small scale things that you can do, I think people just talking about mental health. Like you don't know who's listening, you don't know who's struggling. I think people being honest about their stories, being honest about their feelings, it goes a long way. As far as what the schools can do, I think there can be more education about mental health, not just only in the school counseling classes, but incorporating it in every single class environment. And so, whether that looks like, doing an essay on mental health, or whether that looks like doing grounding techniques in class when your students are feeling anxious, I think there needs to be more concrete resources and tools. So, bringing in a therapist from the community to talk to the entire school, or bringing in tools. So, for me and my husband, we created our little deck of therapy cards. And so having like actual tools that people can use, like, okay, we're going to pull a card today. And today we're going to talk about self compassion, or today we're going to talk about nutrition. So doing small things like that. And then also having more funding for mental health services in the school. Because I was a school counselor or in training to be a school counselor, I have a lot of background about what goes on behind the scenes. And so I think there needs to be more funding when it comes to talking about mental health, and I think just more awareness of it just in general. And also one other thing, I think understanding trauma is a big one too, because a lot of times teachers and administrators label a kid as bad when in reality they're struggling and they don't know the full story. And so getting to know the students on a personal and intimate level, and understanding that they're not trying to do this on purpose, they're just acting out of their survival trauma brain. And so I think having more understanding about trauma and how that manifests in the schools would be really important.
Yeah, I completely agree. But lastly, what advice would you give to someone who's struggling with mental health, or just your message overall to our Address Teen Stress audience?
Mhm. I would say it goes back to the grace and self-compassion. So just being really kind to yourself, that can go a long way. But as far as other things that people can do, start with the basics. So a lot of times we overlook like the things that we do in our daily life. So for example, making sure that you're eating like a nutritious, meals over the course of your day. And so not just eating lunch or only eating dinner, but just making sure you're getting those 3 meals a day and having snacks and things of that nature. Eat hydration, so drinking water. I'm a culprit of not drinking enough water, trying to work on it. But drinking water to help flush out any toxins that impacts your physical mental health. I would also say getting a sleep routine down, so making sure you're not on your phone before bed and that you have a wind down routine. And then I would say community and social support. So if you have friends, opening up to your friends about like, hey, I'm struggling, like, can you support me? Things like that, or even joining community groups or community circles. And then lastly, movement. So trauma, memories, and emotion are all stored in our body. And so we need to be able to release and express those emotions. And so through movement, we can help to break up some of that tension and anxiety and depression that's stuck in our body.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking today about mental health. Me and Alicia both are, I think I can speak for it too, that we're really inspired about your business and that how you speak among therapy and about mental health, because this is something that needs to be talked about more. Alicia, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Basically just to sum up what she just said, we're so thankful for this opportunity to hear your insight on your work in the mental health industry and how that's impacted the people around us. And we're gonna take it into what we're doing with our projects.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, and thank you all for doing this. Like, this is just an awesome platform. I wish I had this platform when I was a teenager, and so I'm really glad that your generation is open to talking about mental health. And so this is just a much needed space. So thank you all for having me.
My final request is that if you could send us some pictures so we can post it on our Instagram, like some pictures of just you and then you in action, either presenting, talking, your merchandise, any pictures at all. And then also, if you can't think of one right now, that's totally fine. But a fun fact, a unique fun
Mm,
fact about you, some of the ones you've gotten in the past
mm.
is that somebody does like an Animal Crossing expression. Somebody puts like three hot sauces on everything. Someone has a pink car. I don't know, something unique that is kind of lighthearted.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Ooh, fun fact. Okay. All right. The only one that I can think of off the top of my head, which I share for all my fun facts, but I've lived in 7 different cities
oh
and I
wow.
can't remember how many different states, and I've lived out of the country. So that's my fun fact as of right now. But I'll try to come up with something cooler if that's not cool enough.
Lastly, can I get a picture of all of us real quick? Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. We really
Thank you.
this again.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Yeah, we'll definitely reach out if you have any more questions through the DMs. So yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
Sounds
so much.
good. Well, I hope you all have a great rest of your night.
You too. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.